The sun is shining at Imola and the Formula Renault Eurocup second qualifying session is about to take to the circuit in readiness for today's second 30-minute plus one lap race. Two races over a weekend, standalone qualifying sessions. Often Q1 is for race 2 and the other way around, but the way the timetable works here, it's all far more straightforward. They qualified yesterday for yesterday's race, and it's an early morning qualifying session in order to sort out the grid for today. It's a bit cooler now than it will be for their race, which comes up late morning, but the Imola circuit, which of course is going to play host to Formula 1 cars again this year in the rejigged calendar, is ready to go. The green light is on. We haven't got many takers yet, but the cars due out onto the circuit, and they're the first few venturing out for what is going to be an installation lap. But what we did also see yesterday was that once they were on the track, they stayed on the track. You didn't find many people popping into the pit lane. They stayed out so that if necessary they could respond to an improved time. Now, yesterday, the real talking point was the Spanish driver David Vidales, who had been very impressive indeed in the test sessions on Thursday, and was even more impressive when we got to qualifying because he went on to pole position, and he was even more impressive in the race because he won it. Now, why is that impressive? Because he's new to the championship, new to car racing. He didn't do the races at Monza, the first two of the year, so he's arrived on the scene, and not only did he take pole and the win, he also took the fastest lap, and it was a mighty impressive effort. So David Vidales starts definitely as one of the favourites today. There is Nicola Marinangeli, who had an off yesterday through the gravel trap and ended up in 17th place. We had a couple of retirements. Jonathan Hogard was one who, after a late deal to come and race in this, because his Carrera Cup Asia programme is rather up in the air, he had a mechanical malady that put him into the pit lane, and Petr Petacek was a retirement because he ended up in the gravel and brought out a safety car. Paul Aron also ended up in the gravel, so he didn't finish, but he was classified because he'd done more than 75%, even though he wasn't running to take the checkered flag. He had done 75% of the race. He retired a couple of laps from home. So that is a brief synopsis of yesterday. Basically, David Vidales dominated from the championship leader, Caio Collet. He was joint championship leader yesterday. He's now 10 points ahead of Franco Colapinto, who he was joint with. They had a win and a third apiece at Monza, hence that's why they were tied on points. So it is Collet 10 points up on Colapinto, who in turn is 17 points clear of Victor Martins. Fourth in the championship, the leading rookie, Alex Quinn. Fifth is David Vidales already, so 25 points for his race win, bang, put him right in the mix. And sixth is William Aratalo, who'd also look quite good in the week in the many test sessions that the drivers have. They don't get free practice, but they get plenty of so-called collective tests under the regulations. So we have then the cars, as I say, out on track for this 20-minute period. So you can't hang about in it, you've got to get on with it. And that is just what the teams are doing now, with the fastest lap of yesterday's race being David Vidales 1 minute 41.9. The drivers now with a bit more track knowledge as well. Qualifying yesterday was a little bit later in the day, but a 1 minute 40.4 was the gun time for pole position in the first race for David Vidales. That's Paul Aron. Every time you see a result sheet with P. Aron, you want to say Pete Aron from the John Frankenheimer Grand Prix movie, but he is the younger brother of Ralph Aron, who you might recall was a race winner in the FIA Formula 3 European Series. And 15 minutes on the clock. Now, at the moment, we're not getting lap times through, which is slightly disconcerting. But as you see Paul Aron go through, yes, still strangely, time's not being released, which suggests that there's a glitch in the timekeeping service somewhere. So the drivers press on, the teams will put their manual stopwatches onto all of this, I suspect, to make sure that they have a rough idea of times, and it'll all come out in the wash at the end of the session. So they're going over the timing line and down towards the Tamburello, number 92, Victor Martins, then third in the championship. If you follow the series, you'll recall that last year he was in the Renault Sport Academy colours because he was part of that programme. No more is he. So Victor Martins driving these days for the ART Grand Prix team, needing, in a sense, to kickstart the career a little bit and prove that he is still worthy of a place in a Formula One team's driver development programme. Victor Martins in the race yesterday finished in 4th place. Actually lost a spot from where he qualified, but you don't rule him out. He's still a competitive driver, that's for sure. So there, looking down from the pelotella. Number 1, Kyle Collett goes through. He is the man who leads the championship now. So he's had, over the course of the season, in no particular order, a first, a second and a third. So he's been ultra consistent, podiums each time. And as he goes out of the Acqua Minerale, crests the rise, you see the drivers weaving around to get the warmth into the Hankook tyres on which everybody runs in this championship. It's quite a coup for Hankook, the Korean company, to come in and take the deal away from Michelin last year. But these cars that were introduced for last season, they have, as you see, the regional Formula 3 style with the halo device. And it's funny how you get used to that so quickly. Kyle Collett then coming up towards the completion of the lap. He was only half a second behind David Vidales at the end of yesterday's race. But that is a rather phony result, in as much as we had a late race safety car period which bunched them up. And then as soon as we got racing, we had another one. And it was virtually a ceremonial run to the flag. Safety car peeled in after its second intervention, and the drivers ran to the checkered flag, and there it was waved. So the gap doesn't really tell the whole story. He was much, much closer at the end, of course, than he'd been for the bulk of the race. But Kyle Collett now pressing on. There's Victor Martins, who has now done the absolute best within the first sector. So Victor Martins heading downhill. Another absolute best in sectors. So this could be a pole position lap. Apologies, as I say, we haven't got any times being offered yet for this session. So we can get sectors from the graphics, but we don't yet have times being offered up. So Victor Martins comes towards the timing line. Let's see whether that's going to put him up near the top. He's got to get through Ravazza yet, the two elements of the left-hander. Uses the curb on exit up towards the timing line, and this will be his first proper flying lap, I suspect, as he comes through. So we've had a couple of start-up laps. You've seen drivers weaving to get warmth into tyres, and Victor Martins then does a 1:41.6 to go on to provisional pole position. Gregoire Saucy was second. Now Hugo de Wilde gets himself up to second on the times. Like Victor Martins, somebody with experience of these cars from last year. Hugo de Wilde was a race winner last season. Gregoire Saucy and then Paul Aron are third and fourth. There is Paul Aron making his way now down to Tosa. As the session gets to the halfway point. So Paul Aron fifth at the moment, comes downhill. Quicker than anybody now in the middle sector. So a personal best, an absolute best. Fourth he is. This should be the front row of the grid then for Paul Aron as he comes downhill into Ravazza. The best time, remember, is this 1:41.660 set by Victor Martins. He's almost at the end of the lap, but it's still quite deceptive because this is a long, long drag up from the exit of Ravazza towards the timing line. Gone is the old Variante Basso chicane, so it's just foot to the floor all the way now past the pit, over the line, and onto the top of the times goes Aron then with a 1:41.328. Good enough to, as I say, eclipse everybody for the moment. He goes fastest then down towards Tamburello. So Paul Aron down towards Tamburello now. That is Tijmen van der Helm behind it. And he is to be found where in the times? 9th at the moment. That's Hugo de Wilde. Hugo de Wilde there, look, absolute best within the middle, within the first sector, apologies. Franco Colapinto is now the driver that's gone to the top. So Colapinto, who is another rapid driver, having, of course, already this season taken a win. He's part of the Bullet Sports Management company, Jamie Campbell, Walter and Nicolas Manassion's driver management business. And has got good pace, Franco Colapinto, the Argentine driver. So he's gone top, and Hugo de Wilde, who's only 8th at the moment, should be able to get himself back to the top of the times. The fascination in all of this is Kaya Collett, as you can see, only 19th fastest. Now, you don't necessarily need a string of good laps, you need one, and therefore you're not taking too much life out of the tyres. But what can Kaya Collett do? Well, he's going to be a driver to watch, that's for sure. Carl's now with only 7.5 minutes or so still to go. Up towards the timing line, Hugo de Wilde lost out in the last couple of seconds of that lap, so he's down to, or stays rather, down 8th on the grid. In fact, make that 10th, because Jonathan Hoggard, now that's impressive, has gone 9th fastest, amongst others improving. Colapinto loses out to Collett, that goes 5th, Quinn 4th, Aron 3rd, Sosi 2nd, and Victor Martins at the top. Suddenly get this rush of times. It does make me think that there's a glitch still in the system that we're suffering as well, but Jonathan Hoggard, 9th fastest, very good indeed, having been on the back row of the grid yesterday, but it's all changing all the time as you see more times found in the system. Victor Martins, by a sort of James Bond .007 margin, goes top ahead of the flying Finn, William Alatallo. That is Kaya Collett, who was 5th when I started talking about him. He's now down to 7th again, but he's just gone 8 thousandths quicker in the first sector than he had hitherto. So this lap from Kaya Collett, the Brazilian driver, should put him back up near the pointy end of the grid. Comes now through the chicane. Makes the run down now towards Rivazza. And as he turns through, 2 personal bests. So the dust kicked up there from, I think that was Hugo de Wilde ahead of him. Gregoire Sosi now, the Swiss driver, goes on to provisional pole position for Paul Aron, Victor Martins. Collett's down to 8th, but that's about to change because he's down to 9th and he's up to 4th. So it's a real yo-yo session for many of them, this. Joey Alders, only 19th. Now, he had mechanical maladies yesterday within the qualifying session that meant that he started at the very back. He got himself up to 13th, the quick Dutch driver, but out of the points. But again, he's seemingly struggling here. He's got Hadrien Demy, the reigning French F4 champion, as his next target. Kaya Collett on the limit, coming through Villeneuve, then runs a little bit wide up the curb and turns now through Tosa. So there is number 1, Kaya Collett, as you see from the colour scheme, part of the Renault Sport Academy. The Brazilian driver drops downhill once again, the RHGP entry out of Aqua Minerale. There's a bit of traffic ahead. It is Hugo de Wilde, but there's another car the other side of the Arden entry as well. So there is de Wilde, the Belgian driver. Through behind him, Kaya Collett rides the curves. Paul Aron, the man at the moment, looking good for 2nd on the grid, having been 7th in qualifying session 1 yesterday for race 1. William Alatallo, the man that was 3rd in the race yesterday and 2nd of the rookies, drives for the same team as David Vidal. Now Vidal is yesterday's dominant winner, is only 10th, and and he's got 0.6 of a second to find. So with 4 minutes to go, either he's struggling or he's about to pull something out of the bag. So number 32, David Vidales, a long way down compared to what we had yesterday. Whether there's a hint of overconfidence or everybody else has taken a step forward, who knows, but it is not shining for him in the same way that it did in the collective tests, nor qualifying, nor the race yesterday, thus far for Vidales, the Spanish driver. That's Alatalo making his way up towards the timing line. Vidales goes top, so having just talked about the fact that he seems to be struggling, he goes to the top of the times. Can't tell you what the time is, but he has gone quickest. So David Vidales then responds, and he's done that with 3.5 minutes still to go. So Vidales, there he is, the new fastest driver within the session. 3.5 minutes are on the clock. He's at the top of the times, and let's see from there what can be done by the opposition. Kai Collett's on the front of the grid, and Alex Quinn, the British driver, the quicker of the two Brits, he's up now to third fastest. So David Vidales comes out of Tosa. Crests the rise, and now through the Pelotella, using all of the available road there, drops downhill into the Acqua Minerale. Now he's been slightly quicker in the first sector, but look, in the middle, losing 0.7 of a second. That's a whopping amount of time to lose. So he comes over the brow, and traffic in the way, and he might as well have bought the lap, I think. So yes, Vidales does, he bails out of it. Downhill he will go. Now, is he going to have another go at this? Well, he needs to, because Alex Quinn, the British driver, goes quickest. Then number 20, Alex Quinn, to the top of the times. Alex Quinn goes top. So there going through is the British driver. So it's Quinn, Vidales, Collett, Martins, Alatalo and Sosi, the order. Very well, Sosi qualified reasonably well yesterday, but then had an off on the first lap at Villeneuve, went way out wide through the gravel, and that dropped him to the back of the field. So he rather struggled as a consequence of that. So there is Alex Quinn, and he is 52 thousandths of a second up on Vidales, who is still out there. Now, getting a clear lap, of course, is key to all of this. Vidales needs a clear road. Alex Quinn has pretty much bought himself one here, as through the chicane they come. There is Alex Quinn, that's the Variante Alta at the top of the hill. And Quinn now down towards Rivazza. He will squeeze one more lap out of the session. Now, where in all of this is Vidales on the road, and is he going to be able to have another go as well? Let's see. Quinn up towards the timing line, and as he comes through, Kai Collett now goes to the top, 1 minute 40.282. So it's Collett, Quinn, Vidales, the top three. Now Vidales has done an absolute best in the middle sector. That is Kai Collett, the new pole position driver. But now, with only 20 seconds to go, Kai Collett from Alex Quinn, from David Vidales. Vidales was slower in the last sector, so he didn't improve. He has squeezed another lap out of it. Now Collett's heading for traffic here, look. And 1,000th of a second is the margin between the top two. That is insanely close. It illustrates just how competitive Formula Renault Eurocup is. But 1,000th of a second between this man, Kai Collett, and Alex Quinn. The flag is out then, so the session at an end. Drivers take the flag this time. That'll be the end of the session for them. So there's Kai Collett making his way up towards the chicane, curves, gets it all wrong. Well, that means there's absolutely no chance of being able to retaliate from that lap now. Whether or not he needs to, we'll find out, but he's blown it. Okay, he'd already done the job. He'd already got himself up to the top of the times. Good job too, because that was a rare error from Kai Collett. Off the road he has gone. So Collett down the hill. Nobody as yet going quicker, although Victor Martin's up to third. Franco Colapinto all of a sudden has just done an absolute best in the middle sector, and he wasn't too shabby in the first either, so we might get another change before the very end. There's the replay of, first of all, Tymon van Helm getting it wrong, and there, with everything locked up and crossed up, rattling over the curbs, Kyle Collett. If his fillings weren't loose before, they will be now, but he survived it without any damage. But were that to happen in the race, that would certainly, in the first couple of laps with everyone tightly bunched, throw him down the order. However, he has still prevailed. He is the man on pole position from Alex Quinn, and change that, David Vidales is the man on pole position. No, William Aratalo is the man on pole position. As I say, there's something in the system that he's still finding times, and so William Aratalo is the man now credited with pole position by 0.166 of a second from David Vidales, with Kyle Collett third and Alex Quinn fourth. Aratalo's lap being 2 personals and an absolute best, so it does stack up. So William Aratalo there for pole position from David Vidales. The 2 teammates at JD Motorsport then lock out the front of the grid. So it's going to be an interesting fight between those two when we get to the race a little bit later on. We've got the 4th race within Formula Renault Eurocup, this 50th season for Formula Renault. And here at Imola, it is William Aratalo then who is the fastest at the end of Q2 from David Vidales, and then Kyle Collett third. Alex Quinn 4th fastest. 5th goes the way of Victor Martins, Franco Colapinto 6th, ahead of Ugo de Wilde, Paul Aron, Gregoire Sosi, and then Petra Potacek. Jonathan Hagard 11th, ahead of Lorenzo Colombo and Nicola Marinangeli. Tymon van der Helm 14th from Amaury Cordil, Reshad Degeras, who stalled on the grid yesterday. Joey Alder still in strife, ahead of Hadrian David, Michael Beloff and Laszlo Toth at the bottom of the times. There was a pit lane incident, apparently, which involved Jonathan Hagard and Ugo de Wilde, and that's going to be investigated after the session. And we look forward then to the Formula Renault Eurocup's 2nd race of the weekend, the 4th race of the season. And that, as I say, comes up late morning here from the Imola circuit. So a quick look back at what happened in that session. Drivers pouring their way out on track, ready for what was, for the majority of them, a pit stop free session. In other words, get out and stay out for the duration of the session. And a lot of trading of times for pole position. Apologies that the timing system was having its gremlins. We got there in the end, which was good, and so the plot became apparent. But amongst others that were quick early on, Alex Quinn. Way out wide was Hadrian David, and he rattled over the curb at Rivazza. Off the road was Kyle Collett, and in the end it was William Aratalo who will start race 2 from pole position.